If you're building a medical device company, sooner or later, you'll be asked the big question: how are you going to make money? Today, we're unpacking the payment pathway for medical devices: who pays, when they pay, how revenue is recognized, and why reimbursement is a critical lever for your financial future. First, what is a payment pathway? The payment pathway is the route that money travels from the payer, like Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance, through the provider, like a hospital or a clinic, to you, the device manufacturer. But it's not always direct. Sometimes payers pay the provider a bundled rate that includes the device. Sometimes the provider pays out of pocket and bills the payer later. And in some models, especially with newer or high cost devices, you might not get paid at all unless there's confirmed coverage. So, who's actually paying you? In most cases, you're not paid by the insurance company directly. You're paid by the provider, hospital, surgical center, or physician's office, whoever buys your product. Then they seek reimbursement from the payer. That means your customer is not always your end user. It's whoever ends up purchasing the device up front. Your pricing and contracting strategy has to reflect that. In some other models, like with DME or durable medical equipment or home use devices, you do bill payers directly, but that's the exception, not the rule. So, how is revenue calculated? This is where your finance and investor conversations really heat up. Your revenue is typically calculated based on the units sold to providers, the selling price per unit, and the payment terms, especially if you're offering consignment, 30, 60, 90-day payment windows, or risk-based agreements. But here's the kicker: investors will invariably ask, is this revenue repeatable and scalable? And that's where reimbursement plays a starring role. So what do investors want to know? Smart investors aren't just looking at clinical results. They want to know, is the device covered? How are you getting paid? What's the path to broader adoption? And most importantly, how does reimbursement impact margin and growth? They're going to ask, is your device included in any bundled payment systems like DRGs? Is it paid separately? Do providers need to go through prior authorization? Does your product have assigned coding, or are you stuck under a miscellaneous billing category? If the reimbursement is shaky, unpredictable, or too dependent on patient out-of-pocket costs, that affects revenue predictability and therefore your valuation. So, how does payer payment affect your bottom line? It's pretty simple. If providers cannot get reimbursed, they will not buy your product. Even if they love your technology, they cannot afford to use the device that puts them in the red. That's why payer policy matters so much, not just for access, but for your commercial traction. Without clear coverage and coding, you're looking at limited uptake, longer sales cycles, and sometimes needing the sales reps to do heavy lifting with appeals or patient advocacy, all of which eats into your margin. How does this evolve across the device lifecycle? Let's look at the full picture. In the early stage, you may be providing devices at a discount, working under limited coverage, or targeting centers of excellence for data collection. In your growth stage, you're scaling sales, building payer relationships, and working toward established CPT or HCPCS codes to reduce friction. When you reach the mature stage, you're optimizing margin, potentially leveraging value-based contracts, and protecting against competitive pricing pressure from Me Too entrants. If your payment pathway is designed appropriately early on, your commercialization process will be smoother and faster overall. So here's the takeaway. If you're building a medical device company, reimbursement and payment strategy is just as important as product design. Don't treat it like a back office issue. Treat it like a core growth driver. Understand how money flows, know who pays, plan your coding and contracting strategy early, and get payer feedback before you scale. Because in this business, great technology only wins if it gets paid for.